The gentleman you see on your screen is Mr. Rayful Edmonds. Um, and I'm gonna give you a brief synopsis of his story, his life story, and why I'm telling you this. Mr. Rayful Edmonds was one of the biggest kingpins in the United States of America. He's a Washington, D.C. native. And he is the guy who brought crack to Washington, D.C. in the 80s. Crack, I believe, I could be wrong, generated in California and then it migrated throughout the United States, inner cities. And Mr. Rayful Edmonds put his name in the hat and said, I'm going to be Trapper of the Year, Trapper of the Century. I don't know what was in his mind. I really don't know his upbringing. That I don't know. Which is, sometimes that does, well, not sometimes, that always matters, upbringing. Because outside of big meats, majority of these kingpin come up in single parent households and in poverty situations that really made them end up getting off into that lifestyle. But Mr. Rayful Edmonds, by the age of 25, was a drug kingpin, was making $2 million a week. At 25, man, $2 million a week. And a lot of people don't really understand the drug game. I do. And one thing about the drug game, especially when you make it to the height that he made it to, is not just about the women, fast cars, and money no more. A lot of other variables gets through in. Variables that you may not be prepared for, variables that you may have to get out of character, meaning who you really are. You might really not be that person, but you're gonna have to do certain things to remain that get your respect. Because if one person run off on a big pack, it's gonna spread around the town, and next thing you know, you'll be getting jacked left and right. So you got to put your murder game down. So a lot of lives was lost at the hands of Mr. Rayful Edmonds. And if you black and you was alive during the crack era, 80s, early 90s, especially the 80s, when it hit the black community like an atomic bomb. You had 13 and 14-year-olds driving around in Mercedes Benzes with hundreds of $1,000s. And you had a lot of families who it hit forward as the mother, the father was doing it. You had crack babies, mothers doing crack on the babies, selling their house. They didn't care about anything. My daddy was in LA. And he told me a lot of different stories. And he said when crack hit the hood, he said it was almost like Hiroshima. He said it was an atomic bomb. He says the best word that you can use, or best term that you can use to describe the damage that it did to the black community. Damage that some of it hasn't even been done. Some of it hasn't even been fixed yet, mentally, spiritually. And this guy's still serving time. It's people lives that was lost. And when people lives lost from a certain era of a certain epidemic, they never forget that. So it was very, very, very intricate in the black community, and it was very, very damaging. He was a part of that. And as I said, by the age of 25, he had accumulated hundreds of millions of dollars. The guy had so many different businesses, real estate. He was a mayor, the unofficial mayor of Washington, D.C. And as you know, Washington, D.C. is the capital, the government, the capital of America, where the government at. And so eventually by the age of 25, he also ended up getting caught. And, I don't respect people like Rayful Edmonds, man. I have no respect for people like him. I have no respect to any black person who's selling poison to their own people for their benefit. But I really don't have, I have a deep repugnance for individuals like him. Because what he did was, when he got caught, he told on everybody. And He still ended up getting life sentences, but to save himself from the death penalty, he told on everybody. And he had 2 life sentences, right? So let's fast forward from 25, which was in 1990, all the way to 2024 of June or July, I want to say. This summer, I'm going to say. He somehow was released. Like I say, he had 2 life sentences. He was never supposed to be released. He was released to a halfway house. And you know when you rat, you get in the witness protection program, they change your name and all that. So it was hard to find him. You couldn't find him, because I did some research, try to look where he was, just to, just for my own, couldn't find him. But he was in work release. It was said that he was released because they have to, the Federal Bureau of Prisons have to, let that information be known. You can go on the internet and look it up. And he was released in this summer of 2024 in a work release. So in a work release, you stay in a work release no more than 2 years, and then you're released back to the public. So let me tell you about Karma. I was watching the Snowfall series. I'm so some of you familiar with the Snowfall series. And in the finale, Franklin, well, I didn't watch it, but I know about it. I watched the first season, and I'm one of those people, I'm not really into the nigga nonsense, dudes selling dope and all that come up, because that's too idolized in our community, which is a huge problem. Now, don't get me wrong, the BMF the BMF series, 50 Cent is a genius, and the way he brought that story to life was amazing, and it had a lot of life lessons in there. But outside of BMF Power and all those movies, all those shows about drug dealing, I don't watch that foolishness because it's nigga nonsense, and niggas worship that kind of lifestyle, and they look at these shows or movies or whatever, and they think that that's going to be them one day, when there's a good chance it's none to be. No, you're not going to get a documentary. You're just going to be another black man threw in jail, rightfully so, or killed in the street in that lifestyle. That's how it usually turns out. You're not going to be Big Meech and have a TV show after you, and your son is going to be a mega star of your life of crime. And even if you say Big Meech, look what he went through. Him and his brother did 20-something years of their life, I think 20 years to be exact, in prison. So even if you say, okay, well, Big Meech, he still, look what happened to him. These drug dealers always get what they deserve at the end. You see them all the time. They in front of the store, they're winos, and they still talking about, man, back in my day, Karma coming back. Because see, drug dealers, let me show you something about drug dealers. That's why I wasn't successful in drug dealing. Drug dealers don't care about nobody, man. All they care about is $1 in their pocket. They don't care about if this mama is giving up her last rent money and the kid gonna be out, as long as they get some money. They don't care about anything. All they care about is themselves, right? And going back to the situation with Snowfall, Franklin, I didn't, like I said, I watched the first series. I mean, the first season. I should have watched it all the way through, because the way they ended that was perfect. Franklin was an old wino. If you seen him on the street, you look like a dolphin. All his teeth was all rotten and yellow. And that's almost, yeah, you got a few guys who make it out and start a record label. For the most part, this is how you're going to turn out in that lifestyle. Right? And no one should feel sorry for you, because Karma, let me show you something about Karma. Mr. Rayful Edmonds, let me show you something about Karma. Sometimes Karma is in a microwave. It's immediate. And you ought to be thankful for that karma. That bad karma? That bad karma is that karma that go in the slow cooker. And sometimes it's sitting in the slow cooker for so long that it passed down to your children. But, in the case of Mr. Rayful Edmonds, his karma was in the slow cooker. And somehow he was able to get over those 2 life sentences and be released to work release after serving over 30 years in prison, as you see on the screen, responsible for 30 plus murders. I mean, at least 30 murders. So not to mention all the family he destroyed with crack, just taking people's life, of course, like I say, the stuff that you deal with when you're a kingpin, people jacking you, people robbing you, all people not paying you the money they owe, all these type of games, all these type of things that is written in small print on the contract you sign when you decide to sell drugs. All you see on that contract is the women, the car, the money. That's the small print right here. Right? But anyways, so Karma was in the slow cooker for him. And he did over 30 years in prison. And I know he said to himself this summer, I beat the system. Yeah, I did 30 years of my life in here. I told on all these people, but I'm able to get in work release and soon I'll be released. But Karma said, no, you're not. Karma said, no. And about 2 days ago, Mr. Rayful Edmond was found dead at his halfway house. God bless his family if he had children. I feel sorry for all of them. Because they not responsible for the things he did. They shouldn't have to suffer. Who knows if they had a relationship with their father? Who knows if he was married? His poor mother, if she's still alive, his parents. And right when he thought that he had beat Karma, and after all the people that cried and suffered for the stuff for his benefit in the 80s and in the 80s, he thought he had almost got away with it. And he was found dead in the halfway house. So my point in making this video is, man, just know one thing. Karma will come. Karma will come. And sometimes she getting that slow cooker, man. And when she getting that slow cooker, it's bad because you think you got away. You think you got away, and then bam, hope deferred, make the heart sick. Or in this man's situation, your heart not sick because it stopped. Thank y'all for watching. I'll be back with more videos.